Imagine going on strike to make a bold statement only for it to last one day and barely leave a dent. Bethesda employees tried it, Microsoft shrugged it off, and the impact practically zero. Here's why this strike was pointless. Hello, my name is Innovate Robert, and I'm a big fan of anything business. I currently own an MBA, which is a master's in business administration. I'm a big fan of games, and I've been playing video games since I was a child, and now I'm a big fan of anything that is gaming industry. Now, let's run into this. America's biggest video game union goes on strike. For those that do not know, we do have a union by Bethesda that was made in 2023. Microsoft gets the first gaming union, largest in North America. To preface though, the union is a little bit more targeted towards those that are video game testers. I wasn't entirely sure, and I was trying to do a little bit more research, but I couldn't necessarily find if it was explicitly in Bethesda's sector of video game testers or if it was everybody. Something that really threw me off, and I really hated reading this. Whoever answered this question was really ridiculous and really caused their whole movement to really sound as ridiculously as possible. But they went ahead and interviewed people, and then someone said quality assurance test lead who helps supervise employees who test Bethesda games for bugs, among other tasks, told Inverse that she was excited and looking forward to the fun event. Okay, telling people that this is going to be a fun experience rather than a frustrating one is not really the idea, and it's not really enabling and showing how frustrated the people that are working there really are. If you say, I'm going to go have fun, can't wait for all of us to get together and put this together, but it's not really focusing on the part that they're all rallying together out of frustration. So why did they strike? Striking for a few reasons. The employees say, I want to work remotely. A lot of them got hired during that COVID era and they were given the opportunity to work remotely and it was totally fine. A lot of them say, I don't want to get fired for working remotely, which is totally valid, right? Like, I got hired to work remote. Why are you changing my contract? That wasn't what we originally agreed on, right? And that would require some of them to have to move to wherever Bethesda is located, and now they have to work wherever they're required to, whereas before they were just working remotely and it was completely fine. And the last one's, I don't want my job outsourced. For example, right here it says Microsoft has contracted out quality assurance work since February and in an ongoing and continuous basis without consulting the union, according to a copy of the unfair labor document viewed in Inverse. So this is really important for everybody that's a part of the union, because they assume that by signing up with the union, they're going to be safe, their jobs are secure, they're going to continue getting that work. But as Microsoft is able to slowly contract people outside of the country, which tends to be very cheap labor, it creates a sensation that Microsoft will slowly become more comfortable having those contractors instead of having the job being done in-house. Now, here's another reason why it's so clear to me that Microsoft could give less craps about this. So they said, we respect our employees' rights to express their point of view as they have done today. Said in an emailed statement, we will continue to listen and address their concerns at the bargaining table. They've been ignoring them since February. It is currently November. It's completely been ignored. They could care less. Microsoft is not doing what they really should be doing according to the union, and they're completely getting ignored. I say, as someone that has a master's in business, I can assure you that a one-day strike is such a wasted attempt and an achievement of a goal. The reason for that, a strike puts pressure and is only really supposed to be done against the company as the final resort. This is not doing anything. Consider that a lot of these employees are remote, right? They're literally striking because they want to stay remote. So going ahead and saying we are going to strike and protest for one day is doing, I really want to curse, nothing. It's just nothing. You're wasting your time because these people aren't even showing up to the office, and now you're giving them the idea of like they didn't come to work. Okay, but like they were always remote. So what's the biggest issue here to Microsoft? They, if anything, might even enable them to go ahead and go for more contractors, because they went through one day where their remote employees didn't do anything, and now they're like, okay, well, is this what they normally do? It doesn't feel like a lot was done. So it doesn't help their cause if it's only for one day. It's, if anything, sometimes enable the company to feel like, oh, okay, like, so we should start doing contract work faster, more routinely, get ahead of the curve, you know? So that's a huge, huge issue that the employees aren't acknowledging. I'm gonna go back to this one where it says like this is some like a fun event. This is not supposed to be a fun event. This is the last bargaining chip, the last thing that you have against the company is literally walking out of your job. That is the biggest protest that you can do. There's a reason that we almost shut down all trains and the government had to get involved. But for them to do it as a fun event, for them to only use one day to really set their standard is really harming the union. Now, to add even more insult to injury, I have someone on Blue Sky that said, Phil Spencer says the Xbox business has been healthier following 2,500 layoffs. The Xbox business has never been more healthy. He said, citing growth in cloud and PC gaming as well as console usage. The business is performing right now, and I think that means a more healthy future for hardware and games we build. Striking isn't fun or ideal, but there's a satisfaction in having a concrete physical action we can do to fight for better work conditions. Dowell says, hopefully we can convince them to stop dragging their feet and meet us at a table. This is not it. I'm sorry, but this is not it. Like, you are really using your last bargaining chip, which is failing. How do I acknowledge that this is failing completely? I looked this up on YouTube. Bethesda strike doesn't even show up. There's not even a video of this. The reason for that, the physical aspect that this person is trying to cite, is because so many of these people are remote employees. Once again, let's go back to this. I want to work remote. I don't want to get fired for working remote. Again, this is so irrelevant. Like, the Bethesda like union is being so ridiculous. I understand that it's only been 1 year. This was made in 2023. The union gets made, but if you look up strikes, Bethesda strike is so irrelevant in the sense of, like, if you look up search terms, that is a really good indicator of acknowledging how much attention your strike, your protest, your voice is being heard. Because when the media outlets do articles about this, then it creates pressure on the company to have that good relationship with the consumer. So if consumers are upset with Microsoft, they will stop purchasing from Microsoft, and it would be very important for Microsoft not to lose that positive outlook on them. And this is a clear example that, like, no one heard. Like, it's a voice that was hollow, if anything. I looked up Microsoft Union. I looked up the Bethesda strike. Bethesda strike nearly flat. You know, it wasn't even close to being there. The farmer strike also completely pointless. But the UAW strike is high. And then the last one that I wanted to look up, that I wanted to show, is the Amazon strike. Amazon strike, bam, huge, huge by comparison. 1 day strikes are not as valuable as people are assuming it to be. And it's really adamant that people might not acknowledge what the protest or what not showing up to work would really entail. Something that we also have to mention is that these jobs are very replaceable. The purpose of unions are so that replaceable jobs, or jobs that feel like they're not as stable, can feel more stable. That's why you want to be in a union. That's why that's the case, right? 580 video game tester jobs right now. I live in San Antonio. Right now, 580 video game tester jobs. It's not a stable job, and I can't believe that this union is flopping so excessively. This strike happened 5 days ago. Heard nothing about it. Didn't even hear a peep about it until I looked for something to talk about, and I realized how absurd this whole situation is. I cannot believe we come to this situation where a union that was made 1 year ago doesn't necessarily understand why we protest, or why we walk out, or why we don't show up to work, and why it's important that the strike cannot be 1 day. Like, you really cannot just, throw it in whenever you want. Like, you have to be more knowledgeable about it. And when you're striking, you have to have it as a long term. Some people are not going to agree with me. I understand that. I acknowledge that. Some people are going to say 1 day strikes is kind of giving them a taste of what it could be and what it could turn into. And it also avoids people for us to get replaced as quickly or as easily. I totally get it. But it also enables the company to acknowledge what measures they themselves have to do so that they can be in a better position against the employees. The company will never want to feel like they're under or the employees are in control. The jobs, which is video game testing, they can just rehire. Realistically, they really can. And that's something that a lot of the people at this union have to acknowledge. It's not the strike, it just wasn't it. It really wasn't. You need to garner attention. You need to talk to media sites. You need to have those confrontations that are a little bit uncomfortable before you get to the strike point. If you got involved with the media's companies beforehand, before you get to the strike point, it honestly would have made more pressure on the company to do something about it, and the strike could have had more value. The fact that there was almost no search ups about this, the fact that there's not even a single video about this when you look this up on YouTube, it really intensifies the idea that there wasn't a care for it. It's a waste of time. The strike being one day is not it. I hope the Bethesda union can reinforce their idea of how to approach this topic and how to make sure that their employees do not suffer for wanting to work remotely. But I think the union leaders really have to be more thoughtful about how they're approaching Microsoft, since Microsoft is so much stronger. Some general idea, right, would be always try to make your union as strong as possible. Gather as many employees to join your union as possible, as that will give you more leverage when it comes to bargaining with the company. Hopefully, better situation later. If you enjoyed this conversation and you want to watch more, like, subscribe, and hopefully we get to have more positive topics next time.